EHEDG Certification, a roadmap towards success. That is the title of an upcoming EHEDG Connects webinar that promises to be particularly interesting for anyone working in the food equipment and food processing industry. Because when food industry professionals talk about hygienic design and EHEDG being the gold standard for that, they often refer to these EHEDG certificates that enable end users of food processing equipment to be sure that this specific equipment is easy and cleanable to use and safe to use in food processing environments, because it has been tested by independent EHEDG Authorized Testing Laboratories. And the webinar presenter of this particular webinar works at one of the EHEDG accredited testing laboratories, and he's an Authorized Evaluation Officer as well. His name is Alan Friis. Alan, welcome, and thank you for doing this. Much appreciated indeed.
Hi, thank you, Rob. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to share some of the insights in how you can obtain certification. I mean, certification of equipment is one of the gold standard products of EHEDG. And we often hear that people have an idea about that it can be difficult to obtain certification.
Sure, and some will say that it should be difficult because these EHEDG certificates mean something. You have to comply to specific hygienic design requirements. But especially since the introduction of the 5-year renewal plan of the EHEDG certification scheme, there are also people who say EHEDG keeps changing its certification scheme. What would you say as a response to that?
The thing is, we don't. EHEDG has a very stable certification scheme, which is fine-tuned. Like now that we are extending on the open certification possibilities with the new test method.
Yes, now you're talking about the new EHEDG open process component certification and cleanability test that EHEDG will start to roll out this year, but we have another webinar lined up for that, where we interview 3 different representatives of EHEDG Authorized Testing Laboratories in Europe about this new OPC method. So let's stick to your webinar right here. What would you want to address in your webinar primarily?
I don't think that we should talk about the test method, but I would more talk into the core of certification, how you contact the AAO, how you get good advice and what material to provide, and also how to avoid some of the pitfalls that could be there.
EHEDG certification, a roadmap to success and tips to avoid pitfalls. I like that addition to the title, Alan. But let me ask you, and let me get back to what you earlier said about the gold standard and the 5-year renewal plan. How is the 5-year renewal plan of this EHEDG certification process related to the also 5-year renewal scheme for EHEDG Guideline document updates? How are they related to each other?
I think that, if we put the guidelines and the certification together, to say each of them by their own right is part of the EHEDG gold standard product. But if you put them together, then you can talk about that you're actually reinforcing. So it is a guideline where part of the guideline can be used for certification. Part of the guideline is good advice that you can apply when you install, for example. So, but when you're using that as a chain of events, but then we are reaching the point where we have equipment which is not just hygienically designed, but it is also certifiable.
What would you consider to be the added value of an EHEDG certification process in general? Because we have an editorial format here at EHEDG Connects where we interview product development engineers about what they often refer to as the co-innovation value of an EHEDG certification process, because they get feedback, right, from the testing laboratory or from the AEO. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's actually so that, as a certification body, we're not developing with people. We're giving people feedback, and the feedback actually comes from a discussion in the group of AEOs, and that means that we tell people these parts of your design you need to improve. And when people speak highly of what they call development, is when they come early in the process. they come early in the process. So they come with drawings, or they come with a 3D model. And we can say, that is good. Here you need to change something. And then we send people back home and they develop themselves, but they value the feedback that EHEDG can provide, that the group of AEO can provide, because it is most often very factual. Sometimes it's also, we say, this is the first time we've seen something like this. We have the basic suggestion here, but you need to go back to the drawing board. And that is also where I sometimes see people, they come up with something very ingenious sometimes, because I think that they are encouraged by us in a way to improve and do better.
So any questions that people might have about EHEDG certification can be addressed directly to you in the Q&A session of this upcoming webinar.
Basically, I'm expecting also a bunch of questions that will relate to, I had a certificate, now I cannot obtain a certificate anymore. Why is that? Also, people asking, why do I need sometimes to retest? I had a test, my product pass test in the past, and just to give people a very good explanation of why it is, because we are focused. I mean, I think that probably everybody who's been through the process can agree that we have a rigorous, sometimes perhaps also a little rigid way to evaluate, but that is what gives people a good product in the end. When you have the certificate, you know that this is not something which is handed out easily. It is because your equipment is indeed certifiable, meaning cleanable and living up to a high standard of hygienic design. I mean, yes, a gold standard, which is the EHEDG product. So in that way, I mean, I'm really looking forward to giving people some insights, because when I speak with people having doubts, that they often, when they hear how we're doing it, they say, but that makes sense. Now we understand. And that's the kind of picture that I would hope that we can create in half an hour, and hopefully also get a bunch of very good and also difficult questions. I mean, hit us with everything you have, because let's get into to all the corners and also into the depth.
Thank you very much for this interview, EHEDG Authorized Evaluation Officer Alan Friis. We're looking forward to your webinar.
Thank you, Rob. I mean, I'm looking forward to it as well.
So, dear EHEDG follower, it might be a good idea to register for this EHEDG Connects webinar. The link is up there and down there. It's free for everyone, even if you're not an EHEDG company member. If you are a member and you can't make it, you can always visit the EHEDG website, and there you will find an overview and recordings of all the past EHEDG Connects webinars. Thank you for watching. See you next time.